This episode of Hak5 is brought to you by Domain.com.
Hello and welcome to Hak5. My name is Darren Kitchen.
My name is Shannon Morse.
It's your weekly dose of Technolist.
Welcome everyone to our humble abode.
I am very excited. Our humble abode needs some more stickers.
I agree. If you guys have
maybe
stickers that you want to send from your own hacker spaces or your awesome hacker whatever, I don't even know, just send them to us. I just don't even know.
Don't even know, man.
I need some caffeine. Caffeine!
Should we get some mate?
Caffeine!
Let's get some mate in the break. But very awesome show. We're going to dive right in because I hope that it's not going to be too long because we are building servers today. It's going to be very exciting. We're kind of working backwards from the whole setup. In that last week, we demonstrated the end product, what we have achieved, and that is to build ourselves our own little social network using Friendica with open source software. So now we're going to take a step back from that and actually build the server, and then we're going to take a step back from that and actually build the virtual hypervisory good stuff that all of it's running on. So
this is awesome.
Yes.
I'm super excited to get into this. This is going to be like my first on Hak5 building a server thing.
For real?
Yeah, this is my first one. Yeah.
I think you're wrong.
Isn't that crazy?
You've done so many segments that you've forgotten.
I've done other stuff outside of Hak5, but I've never done anything with you as far as building servers go.
Okay.
So this is cool. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn a lot.
Let's go ahead and get started then.
Okay.
So what we will be doing is Friendica, as we talked about last week, is a free and open source software epic, awesome alternative to the likes of Facebook and the Twitters and the stuff. It's a social network that integrates with a lot of other social networks. You can like link your different accounts and stuff. And it's federated. And what that means is it links with all of the other Friendica servers, including other diaspora servers as well. So basically there's a bunch of different open source initiatives to create what are called decentralized distributed social networks. And so as opposed to your traditional like, hey, here's Facebook and it's this castle over here and you're either in the castle or you're not, this is the idea of instead of one gigantic castle that somebody owns and changes all the rules as far as the way that the privacy settings work all the time, there are all these little mini castles and they all speak to each other. And so all of your data isn't in one person's hands, and it's also, you know, there's all sorts of other good stuff that goes along with it. So
what are you going to be building this on top of?
We are going to use as the base of this Ubuntu because I am comfortable with it. CentOS, you could do the same thing with that Linux distribution, with Debian, with really any Linux distro. But I'm an Ubuntu guy. I can't help it, right? And Ubuntu is based on Debian, and so it's got all of the goodness of like being able to quickly and easily get your dependencies done with a couple of apt-get installs. So we'll fly through some of that. In fact, one of the reasons why I love Ubuntu is during the setup, during the Anaconda, you get the choices to like, hey, what do you want this server to be? And I've got that choice right here.
Oh.
I'm being asked.
Oh, cool.
Do you want it to be an OpenSSH server? Yeah. So we just check the box and boom, I didn't have to set up anything. Now it's an OpenSSH server. Do I want it to be a DNS server? Nah.
You can do multiple?
Yeah.
That's
LAMP.
Cool.
Oh yeah, I want me some LAMP. Do I need Postgres?
What is LAMP?
LAMP stands
Other than something that I love.
Yeah, I saw you setting up your lamps with the Wemo and the Amazon Echo on TechThing. Check out TechThing, it's good stuff.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so as opposed to something that illuminates the room, LAMP stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, traditionally.
Okay.
And it's called a stack because you layer those things like a cake.
Together?
Yeah, you layer them on top. You know, you get yourself a Linux base, and then you toss some Apache up on that. That's a web server. And you toss some, MySQL on top of that. You could use Postgres if you're a Postgres guy.
And then you use the PHP as the icing?
Yeah, the PHP is the icing, right?
Okay.
You could also use Python or Perl or any other language that starts with a P except for Ruby because it doesn't start with a P. So, nobody wants Lammer. Lammer's not a thing.
Poor Ruby.
Yeah. But Ubuntu makes it simple as far as like just checking the boxes, and now I've got like the baseline stuff done, which is great. So this is the part where this is all being done as a virtual machine. Oh, and you know what? Since I asked it to become a MySQL server as well, it's now asking me to come up with a root password for MySQL. Okay. So that's our database.
So your password is Kirby.
My password is Kirby123, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm going to go ahead and repeat that. And basically, That's different than our user password. This is just for the database, and then we'll be able to log into our database and create all of the different tables and stuff like that.
Yes.
So now we are in progress bar land.
Yay. Okay.
And installation is complete. All happy. All right, let's log in.
Kirby123.
Yep, that's the one, and get our dependencies on.
Okay.
Now, Friendica requires a lot of basic stuff. So PHP 5, we're going to need curl, we're going to need a bunch of other stuff, and we can pretty much get most of it done with just apt-get. So let's do ourselves some sudo apt-get goodness. Like I said, PHP 5, curl. Command line addition of PHP 5.
Does GD stand for good?
We'll go with that. Probably need to do an apt-get update before I can do this. Okay, with that all done, now we should be able to get all of our dependencies. Oh, Shannon, what's wrong with my command here? Sudo apt-get PHP 5. Oh, install tac-y. Yeah, there we go.
Didn't you watch Hak5?
Yeah, I know.
Come on, dude.
I'm feeling just a
I
little
taught you
burpy.
this like 3 years ago.
Everybody at home was like, dude.
It's okay. You know, some people don't know it yet.
And at this point, we can basically go ahead and just check our server and see if it's running with the dependencies and all the good stuff that we're going to need. So let's head over to our web server, which is in var www HTML.
Is it always in there?
Typically with Apache, yes.
Okay.
And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove that index page. It's like, hey, you've set up a thingy. And now we'll create a new one. Actually, I'm going to become root and head back over to var www. And I'm going to use nano to create an index.php file now and write just a little bit of PHP code. Just one function, Php Info. This right here is going to give us all of the infos about our PHP installation. So right now, if let's see, first of all, figure out the IP address of this guy on the network. So if we head over to 10.73.31.149, we get our PHP info.
Cool.
And what I'm mainly interested here is the SSL stuff, and boom, we have everything looking like it needs to.
Okay, so it says registered stream socket. Stream socket transports, and then it includes SSL and SSL version 3. Okay.
Yep,
Got it.
that's pretty much what we need. We also need to set up some stuff in our Apache to allow it to rewrite URLs. And what that means is kind of changing, rather than having really long URLs with like index.php question mark and a bunch of stuff, we'll be able to actually dynamically make URLs like /profile/snubs.
Cool. Okay.
Yes. And to do that, there's pretty much a command line tool for enabling Apache services called A2nmod. Or Apache 2 enable mod. And the mod that we want to use is rewrite.
Oh, that's easy.
Yep. And now we can do a service Apache 2 restart, and that will take effect. We can also make these changes by editing our configuration file. And so Apache 2 is typically set up to host a lot of different sites.
Yeah.
We're only going to be hosting one site on this server.
Just Friendica.
Right, so we don't need to make a bunch of different virtual hosts for a bunch of different websites if we were, say, becoming a web host, which we're not. We want to just host this Friendica on this Ubuntu VM, not put too many eggs in its basket. And in that case, what we need to do is edit the default configuration file, which we can find
Nano!
Yep, going to use some nano to head over to our Apache 2 folder, and you'll see that we have sites available and sites enabled. If I go into sites enabled, I'll see my default configuration, and I can go ahead and edit that file. Huzzah. So this right here is the configuration for everything responsible for the default anything, the *@:80, 80 being the port number that is the default for HTTP. And we can give it things like the server name, which doesn't really matter for us right now. You can see that document root is in var www.html, just like we had said before. If we wanted to, we could change it to be pretty much anywhere. And at this point, what we need to do is go ahead and add, right after where it says document root /var/www.html, we're going to go ahead and create a directory for that and allow a override. And so this is our default configuration, and right under where it says, document root, we can go ahead and add the parameters to enable that rewrite module. I can show you what it looks like on our live server because it's currently running. And you'll see that this includes things like the name of the server name social.hak5.org. The server administrator is administrator@hak5.org. You can see the www root. We even do this redirect permanent here that moves everything to HTTPS.
Cool.
And that's the virtual host down here, which is showing star at port 443. 443 is the default port for HTTPS.
Oh,
so 80 for
gotcha.
HTTP, 443 for HTTPS.
Okay, cool.
And that goes into a whole nother thing, which we're not going to get into today about installing the certificate, but it's very straightforward, so we'll probably come back to that at some point if we need to. But what I'm going to need to do here is on our new server, create this directory. And within it, I'm just going to say allow override all. Boom. And there we go.
Okay, so that's done.
And now at this point, we can pretty much just, if I full screen this so it looks a little bit better, we can go ahead and restart our server just like we did before with a little bit of that action. And it's complaining that it doesn't have a server name yet, but that's fine.
It's not going to cause any errors in the install?
Well, the thing about this is we're basically redoing what we have already done before. And since it's actually live, short of taking that site down and then doing this one and then doing a swaparoo, it's not going to be too feasible for this segment, but we're still following most of the steps that you would need to follow to go ahead and roll your own. And as you've seen thus far, it's really a matter of rolling an Apache LAMP server, or sorry, Ubuntu LAMP server, installing the few dependencies, mainly PHP 5 modules, enabling mod rewrite, and now we will just get to the part where we grab the copy of the latest and bestest ever version of Friendica, unzip it to our web root, and then make a few changes.
Okay, so they have this download available just straight through their download tab on their website. So easy to find the link.
Yes, or you can get it through GitHub, but either way. Okay. So we're going to go into our HTML place here. We're going to remove that index that we had created previously, and we'll go ahead and wget, which is to download over the web our the latest version. So it's from GitHub.
Go to Herb. More taskbars, yay!
Yay, there we go, and we can go ahead and unzip master.zip. We don't have unzip.
That's the fun part of installing a bunch of dependencies.
And now we have. And there we go, it's in Friendica-master. Everything we need is in this folder. We're going to go ahead and move everything down a directory. There it is, and we can remove that Friendica master directory. There we go.
Cool.
At this point, we are almost ready to go. We do need to change. Now, we downloaded this as root, so if I do a lstech.la, you'll see that root is the user and group for our
so you
all
need
these
to
files.
change the ownership.
Yes.
Okay.
We can see if we cat our /etsy/passwd folder, or sorry, file, that we have a www-data right there, and that is the user for Apache.
You need to chown that.
I need to chown it, so chown to change ownership. And we're going to give it to www.data on the group www.data to everything. We're going to use a tac R right here, a capital R, that's going to make it recursive. So it's not just the files in this directory, but it's all the files in all the directories. And now when we ls tac LA again, we can see now they're all owned by www.data.
Very cool. Okay.
Yes. We do need to set up our fully qualified domain name so that it will work on the internet.
I learned about it from my Wireshark tutorials in Hak5. Yay.
We actually just did this a few weeks ago too on with the Jitsi server. So we just edit our etc hosts file. And right here we can just go ahead and, right now the name of the server is Ubuntu. What we'll want is this to be, say, social, because this is going to end up being social.hak5.org.
Right.
And we would do the same thing, editing /etc/host name.
Okay.
And change this to social, right? And exactly the same as we did with I guess it was 2 weeks ago when we rolled our Jitsi server and made it hangout.hak5.org. It's the exact same process.
So it's a social.hak5.org.
Yes.
Cool.
Similarly, like we did, in fact, with that installation where we set up it to have a static IP address, and that is going to be very specific to your environment, but what we did was we edited the file in etc network interfaces so that it would always come up with a static IP address rather than a dynamic one, which is important when you're hosting a service on the internet, because if the IP address keeps changing, then nobody knows where it is, and that's never any good. So that's the exact same process that we did with the Jitsi stuff. So the rest of it is pretty much diving into the installer.
Yeah, into Friendica itself.
So we should probably do that,
Yay.
but we'll first take a quick break. It doesn't matter if you're into Apache, Nginx, or you're indifferent about it because you just want to get your idea up onto the interwebs as quickly as possible. You should do what Shannon and I do. We head over to domain.com, the sponsors of this very fine program here, because they make it so easy to get your website online, lickety-split. That's right, they've got a domain discovery system where it'll help you bring your brilliant idea to fruition. And if we haven't already told you, they are an awesome place to do business because they're affordable, they're reliable, they're easy to use, and mainly because they're just really cool folks. They're really cool folks to like party and get down with. You can tweet them at domain.com and see why they've been so epic for years with us. And then you know what? Just say some nice things. So yeah, if you find yourself in needs of the interwebs, you can head over to domain.com, and just as a Hak5 fan, you can get the hookup. You use the coupon code HAK5 to save 15% off on domain names and goodies. So check it out, domain.com. When you think domain names, think domain.com. All right, we are so close. We just need to create some databases, get some emails on, and configure our htaccess file, and we'll be good to go.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the fun things about social network is it has to rely on open standards. You know, that's kind of an interesting juxtaposition, is that for as closed as the Facebooks and Twitters of the world are, they still rely on the openness of email. That's right, folks, email, the original social network. It's almost as if like somebody invented a protocol that everybody could speak and use it to send, you know, status updates and photos to each other. Join my mailing list. Anyway, we need to set up the server to speak email.
Okay, so how do we do that?
When you sign up for an account over at social@hak5.org, you'll get emailed your passwordy goodness and all that jazz to get set
So this
up.
is basically Friendica that's going to be emailing you as a user, like, hey, here's your password reset or whatever.
Yup.
Okay.
And for that, we're going to go ahead and set up Postfix or SendMail or one of those to get the server set up so that it can email us and notify us when things need to happen.
Why did you choose Postfix over SendMail?
It's, you know, because it was
Because
quick and easy to get
Darren,
set up. Because
Darren.
Well, because there are options, and that's the beautiful thing about open source. There's so many options.
Okay.
It's like text editors. We could use Nano all day, but Emacs is sitting right there saying, hey, let's play. And we're like, no, Emacs, stop it. Anyway.
You're so mean.
I know, I just love me some Nano.
All right, let's go into it.
Okay, cool. So with all of that, what we're going to do is set up our postfix so that it will actually speak to the interwebs email. So let's go ahead and jump in here and get our dependencies met. So just as before, we need to apt-get install. A couple of things here. Postfix, which is an email server-y thing, mail utils, libsassel2, tac2, CA certificates, libsassel, 2 tac modules,
Sassel.
and that should do it. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose an internet site here.
Because we're making a site on the internet.
Yes, we're going to choose our FQDN. We actually haven't set this up properly, so we're just going to go ahead with the defaults. It's going to be just fine. But if we were, we would be giving it our fully qualified domain name, which in the case of the live server is social.hak5.org, where we invite you to come over and join us on the social thingy.
That sounds
The
creepy.
social. Yes. And with that all done, we pretty much just need to go ahead and start editing a couple of configuration files. So in Etsy Postfix, you'll see we have a couple of files here. We're going to need to edit the main.cf file. So I'm going to use vi to edit main.cf.
Why aren't you using Nano?
Wait. Why? Oh, because, you know.
Because why not?
Because why not? Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And I'm going to come down here to the first instance of where it says relay host. And I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And come down to the end and hit I to go into insert mode. And
I'm very excited about all these colors going on.
well, that's one of the nice, beautiful things about Vi. It's or Vim. It's colorful, or Vi. No matter how you pronounce it, it's all going to be good. And so what we'll need to do here is add a couple of configuration entries. Now, typically this is where you put your ISP's SMTP server, or if you're running your own SMTP server. SMTP, by the way, Simple Mail Transport Protocol, awesome protocol for sending mail. It's been doing that since the 60s. I think I want to say the 60s. So, you know, maybe like I said, the OG social network. And we're going to be borrowing Google's.
Yay!
Yay! Because that's just how we roll.
Okay.
So what we'll do is insert relay host equals smtp.gmail.com in brackets, colon, and the port 587.
587.
Yeah, typically SMTP is port 25, I want to say.
Yeah.
But 587 is the SSL version because we're going to be using SSL good stuff.
Cool.
Yes. Secure that email. That's
Wow.
right.
You memorized all the different ports, huh?
No. You should, I mean, Shannon, you should know every port from 0 through 65,536.
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah. I'll see you on port 27015. Playing some Counter-Strike. Sorry. I'm going to stop right now.
Okay.
I'm a little caffeinated today, if you haven't figured it out. SMTP underscore sassel underscore auth underscore enable equals yes. We're also going to go ahead and enter an SMTP sassel password maps equals #/Etsy postfix sassel password or passwd. This is the file from which it will find the password for our account
Okay.
that we're going to be using. And then
And I
finally,
have account set up.
yes, we're going to set up a couple of other options like security options, like security. No anonymous. Did I mess that up? SMTP, SASL, SEC, or ITY. Options, yeah.
Security.
Thank you.
There you go.
As well as a few others. Let's see, we'll need to set up our TLS CA file, so SMTP TLS CA file. And then where are we going to store that? Probably in /Etsy postfix cacert.pem. SMTP use TLS, that's right, we want to use TLS, that's that HTTPS kind of SSL-y goodness.
Okay.
And that's it for this. After that, we pretty much just need to go ahead and set up our password. So, close that. Oops! I instinctively hit Control X because I'm in nano mode. You want to hit escape, :W to write, :X to quit. See, that's why I use nano. 'Cause I don't have to remember all that stuff. It's just bottom screen. And finally, we can go ahead and set up our password file. So in that case, I'm going to use nano now to edit sassel_passwd. And in it, what we're going to basically do is give it our Gmail goodness. So smtp.gmail.com:587 space, and then what user did you set up for Gmail?
snubstest1@gmail.com.
Oh, okay. : and then the password.
And the password is Starbuck with a capital S. And I'm going to change that after we record.
All right.
And then when I'm in Gmail, I also need to change in the settings under the little settings gear tab.
Right.
Under forwarding and pop/imap, I need to enable pop and imap or just enable imap?
Either of them is going to give
Okay.
us access to the Google SMTP server, I believe, and that's what's going to allow us to
Okay.
send messages through Gmail because we're too lazy to set up our own SMTP server. There's a couple of notes here. This is fine for testing, but keep in mind that Google limits you at 500 emails per day that you can send out over their SMTP server.
Oh.
So I didn't realize that. So
Yeah, I
if you're
didn't
really a
either.
heavy emailer, and you're using Thunderbird and you're just
Sucks
like on
for
a
you.
roll, yeah, that
Wow.
499th email. Anyway,
Better be really important.
really good one. Otherwise, check it with your ISP
Okay.
or set up your own. We could probably
So
do
I
that
got
as
those
well.
savings changed in the Gmail, so that's ready to go.
Yep. Now we basically need to change some
to
permissions. chmod 400 to our Sassel password file. And now we can go ahead and post map it. So,
And we covered what 400 means in a hack tip as well.
yes, you went into all of those magic
Linux
numbers.
Terminal 101. Yay!
Great. And at this point, we can go ahead and send the CA, the certificate authority, through T and put it into our into the cacert.pem. That's basically our certificate stuff. I don't want to dive into a giant rat hole
Yeah.
about certificate authorities. We can go
It's
down
like a whole
that.
nother segment.
We can go down that rat hole when we set up SSL, but suffice it to say, we basically just need to take a little bit out of this ca.pem and then put it into a cacert.pem. So
Okay.
in that case, it's pretty much just a matter of cat etc sl certs premium. And we're going to go ahead and pipe that to, let's see, t tac a/etc postfix, right where we are really, cacert.pem.
Okay.
Booyah. And
Whoa.
now if we cat cacert.pem, you'll see it's the same stuff.
Okay.
It's good stuff, and
Cool.
that's what we want it to be. And so at this point, we can just go ahead and reload postfix. It's an initd, which means all of these services, if we ls/etc/init.d, what you'll see are all of these different services that are running on the computer, namely Apache 2. That's what's running our web server and all of the other good stuff. You can see MySQL there. And so we can actually tell it to restart by issuing etc initd postfix restart. And if I just do this, you'll see the usage. I can say start, stop, restart, reload,
Oh, cool.
flush, check, abort, all of those different things that it supports. And in this case, I want to say restart. And that's how you could do the same thing to any of these services. Apache is a little special in that it has its own little ways to interact with. We just showed you how to set up its modules using A2 nmod. There's a bunch of A2 utilities. If you type A2 and hit tab, you'll find a bunch of those for configurations and stuff like that. And then another way to do that would be to use service. So service Apache to restart would be, say, the same as doing what I just did with postfix there, and we could say Apache 2 restart, and it'll work just the same.
Cool.
Yep. Good stuff. So now we are pretty much ready to test our email server. And it'll just be going ahead and using those Gmail configurations, that account that we had set up. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to basically echo some stuff into it. So I'm going to say, hello world, to test this. And we're going to pipe that to mail. We're going to use TAC S to give it a subject. And we're going to say, testing postfix. And then we're going to go ahead and give it a email like shannon@hak5.org. And there we go. Now in just a moment, you want to go ahead and check to see that you have some email, because you should have something from me that says hello world. And there you go. This is pretty cool. It's a fast and easy way to get yourself set up to send email from your server, just borrowing some Gmail servers. It's great for anything under 500 messages per day. We will be switching this over to our own SMTP server, but you know, for testing purposes, it's fine. And there's similar ways to do this with SendMail. There's a light version of SendMail. Another alternative is SMTP, which I find a little easier to set up than Postfix, but whatever have you. We now have it sending emails, which is important because when we do the final setup, we're going to get an email from the system with our administrative password, which we'll use to complete the setup. The next portion of this would be basically to put this on the internet. So, you know, you probably need to set up your port forwards or firewall to expose. Really, you just need to expose 80 and 443, those two ports for your HTTP and your HTTPS. And then back to the local server, we're going to go ahead and set up our database. This is always fun. So MySQL is a free and open source SQL database. There's a bunch of SQL databases. MySQL is one of the most popular. And we're going to go ahead and enter it by doing MySQL tac password. It's going to ask for our password that we set up when we first installed the server. And now we're at our MySQL prompt.
Cool.
We can do things like show databases. Everything ends with a semicolon. And we can see that we have 3 databases. You know, information schema, we've got our MySQL performance schema. We can create a database by doing create database, and we're going to call it Friendica. And then we show databases again. Boom, now we have Friendica.
So this is going to be a MySQL database for the Friendica server?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and then later if we need to do administration of that database, we could use this same program, or you can install like a PHP MyAdmin, which is basically a web GUI front end that allows you to do these SQL things little prettier. But SQL
some people like GUIs.
Hey, SQL is something that everybody should learn a little bit of. You know, select star from users where clue equals greater than 1. Anyway, you get the idea. To quit, it's quit with a semicolon, of course. And it says bye. I love that about that.
Bye.
Yay.
Okay, so now we're going to finish up the installation, right?
Right, so we've got email going, we've got databases going, we've got our web server going with all the mod rewrites and all the stuff that we need. Downloaded the latest version from GitHub, unzipped it, we've set up we've set it up to use the right user, which is www.data. We've set it up with the right permissions so it can access the file system. So now, last bit is to go ahead and actually pull up the browser to our web server and actually finish the wizard, because now it becomes easy. Which is, this is the fun of doing it yourself, right? So let's go ahead and do just that. If I pull up 10, 73, 31, 149, I get the awesome Friendica communication server setup thingy, and it's checking all of my dependencies and whether I have them or not. And it's telling me right here, URL rewrite in .htx, this is not working. Check your server configuration. Right.
Why are we running into that issue?
We're running into that issue because we need to complete our setup of the URL rewrite feature, which relies, in our case, on what's called a .htaccess file, which tells Apache how to do stuff with its directories and all sorts of other fun things. And we can dive into regular expressions if we really want to with this.
So how do we fix it?
Pretty easily. We go back over to our server in where our website is, var www html. And what we'll need to do is create, so I'm going to touch .htaccess. And we're going to go ahead and have to put a bunch of stuff in that. Thankfully, I've actually already I've already grabbed all of the, those are the
it.
options, basically.
Okay.
Yes, as you can
Put them
see.
in the show notes.
They are going to be in the show notes. But these are the options that are going to enable my rewrite rules and make it so that this all works.
Oh.
So to quickly just put all of that in there, I'll run that cat command again, but this time I'm going to redirect it with a waka into my .ht access.
That's a Pac-Man, not a waka.
That's
an alligator.
a waka.
It's a carrot.
Whatever, it's gonna, you guys know it's a waka. So now if I click check again,
Yay!
It is
So we have a bunch of green lights.
We have a bunch of green lights. We've got
That's
all our
awesome.
dependencies met. Could you believe it? All of that to get dependencies going.
Yay.
Servers are fun. And then the rest of it is pretty much a next finish.
Yeah.
And you will get to the point where we are, where you can start tweaking your social network and making it your own and changing the names and adding your own images and applying different themes and installing
So pretty much at that point, it's like
plugins.
building your own MySpace.
It basically, you know what? This very much reminds me of what it took to get WordPress running back in, say, 2001 when I started running WordPress.
It's very similar to that.
Yeah. Which that project has come a long way in making this easier to get up and running. You know what's really interesting about this too? Is Friendica actually has a set of installation instructions that are essentially built for if you're already using shared web hosting. So if you've got yourself like a DreamHost or one of those other shared web hosting, just like you would roll a Apache server, or I'm sorry, not Apache, rolling your own WordPress server, you can do the same thing much more easily because you don't have to go through all of the process of setting up the database through the command line and setting up your mail server and setting up all of those other dependencies and stuff. They should be already set up. They've actually got a really great guide that we will link to in the description. Now that we've done it the hard way, right? Now you can install it just by copying some stuff over in your favorite FTP client. And there's a couple of hacks because you may or may not have cron to schedule tasks. We'll get into that in part 2. But otherwise, I think it's important to always do it the hard way first. Yes.
Well, that way then you know everything that you might run into and you can do some troubleshooting.
Yep.
Cool.
Pretty much the rest of the install here is just a matter of filling out the basics. It's going to ask us, for instance, where the database is, its localhost because the database server is running on the same server as the web server. The login, I don't think we created a login. We should have created a user. We're going to use root. That's not really the greatest.
Root, password, God, sex, love, or admin?
Yes, all of the above concatenated. And the database name is Friendica. And I can't remember if it had a capital F or not. Did it? Let's see. Oh, here's another tip as long as we're doing tips in the command line. If you hit Control R, it will search your history and we can type in MySQL just by typing my, and hey, there was the last time I typed anything with my.
That's so cool.
And yes, it's lowercase Friendica. So, yay, hooray. And this is going to go ahead and set up the rest of it. We give it our email.
Do you want to use the fake email that I've been using?
Nah, it's okay. We're going to actually pull the already baked turkey out of the oven at this point because there's just a few other nuances that I don't want to have to get into right now because I don't want to break things that are working as far as the fully qualified domain name and actually putting it out on the internet.
Right.
We're all doing this local on our network here, but if you guys do want to check out the finished product of this, it is really cool, social.hak5.org, and we can get more into this soon because here's the beautiful thing. Similar to that awesome open source CMS content management system that is WordPress, we can install plugins. We can install all sorts of cool stuff. So we'll
I was
come
looking
back
through
with
their
more of
list.
that
They have
next
a
week.
ton of plugins that you can install. So yeah, we can do some of those next week.
Yeah, and you can write your own or whatever you want to do. I mean, we can tweak this to our heart's content. We can go ahead and open the religion, array and start putting our own religions. Whatever have you. It's pretty cool
That's awesome.
when you're running your own services. So I know this was a long episode. I'm sure there will be some questions. Leave those in the comments. There's some really great discussions going on with this stuff, which I love. And let's just go ahead and wrap this up.
Okay.
Yes.
Feedback at hak5.org if you guys have questions about the installation, if you've run into any problems, or if you have any comments that you want to make about our install, of course.
Yes, value that feedback. We're not able to respond to every single email, but we do read them all, and we really cherish that part of the community. Also, hak5.org is where you can find all of the links to the other shows and social networks and things like that. So in addition to being at social.hak5.org, we're also on the Facebooks and the Twitters. Gotta love them all. And also, awesome stuff is happening with the Hak5 collective in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
ThreatWire's back.
ThreatWire is back, yes. So not only have we, introduced TechThing, but we're also introducing ThreatWire back again for you guys. We are trying to get it to the point where we're doing it 3 times a week via Patreon, via your patronage. So thank you to everybody who has been contributing to that. But for the first month, for all of May, we're going to be doing 3 episodes, even though we're not quite at that goal yet. We're just going to do it for you guys for free, just so you can see what it's going to be like in the future.
It's also really fun because it gives us the opportunity to really level up our studio game. I'm going to show you, if you're paying attention to the vlog,
whatever it's called.
I'm out of words at this point, but if you're paying attention to the backstage stuff, I'll post some goodies about how we are upgrading the facility to enable us to turn
learning how
content
to edit
much quicker. There's some really cool hacks that are happening even just in the backstage as far as automating publishing of content and things of that nature that are really fun and hacky and cool. We're always working on something here at the warehouse.
Hakshop.com is where you can go to support our merchandise store, where you can find Wi-Fi pineapples and fun things like that.
Yes, that's where that is, hakshop.com, and that's why we're here.
You need another bottle of Club Mate.
I need some more mate.
Yeah.
Okay, with all of that said, sorry if it's a little bit insane here.
I'm going to change my password.
Yeah, I'm Darren Kitchen.
I'm Shannon Morse.
Trust your technolist.
Bye-bye.
Yay!
Is that creepy?
Yeah, that's really creepy. I don't know why